be rounding up our CSS class with our CSS practicals. And just like we started before, we are going to be recreating this. Yes, this is exactly what we are going to be recreating in our CSS practicals. And I'll be explaining each concept step by step. And one thing you need to know about CSS is styling. It's not just about looking at it and be like, okay, this background is red. This background color is red. Let me put red there. This text is bold. Let me make it bold. No. One thing is knowing what you want to design, how you want to design it, and what you want to design. It's very, very important. Let's take, for example, we have a logo here, we have a navigation, we have a background image that covers all of these things here, right? You cannot just jump into styling when you don't know how to group them. Your work will look rough and styling it wouldn't be easy. Okay, so one thing is know how to group your items before styling it, know where to place them and know how to place them. Okay, so now we've created our, I'm sure by now you are able to create your HTML file and your CSS file. I've created our HTML file, CSS file, and we've linked this CSS file to our HTML, right? Now we have the logo images, we have all the images we need for this website. We have the logo, we have this background, we have this coffee here, we have this cup, right? We already have the logos and the colors. We'll be telling you the colors along the line. All right, so let's get started already. So first things first, you need to know is how to style them. Now look at this image very well. This first section, we have one section here, we have another section. You can see that each of these sections have different backgrounds, right? Right, so we first deal with this first section, which has a logo, navigation, and then this hero section with this write-up. This is to tell us that this logo and this navigation, they are in one container. They're in one container. This as well is in its own container, right? And then the whole of this, all of them, they are in another parent container, right? Good. Now first off, let's create the parent container. Here we'll be using the header as our parent container. Yes, I want us to use the header as our parent container because I love using semantic HTML. Now inside the header, we're going to be having two different sections. One section for this, another section for this write-up, right? Now let's create the first section for that. Let's just call it dot let's say header top. Let's call it header top as the class name. All right, this is for the first section, and this first section, what it contains, a logo and the navigation bar. Now that is to say this first section also have two div. You can just call the first one logo, right? Give it, sorry, give it a class name of logo. Give it a class name of logo, right? Yeah. Then inside this logo, what we have is an image. Inside our logo, what we have there is our image, right? Right. So now we are going to insert our image there, and using the image tag, the SRC is going to be our logo image, which I already have here. This is our logo image. All right. We'll insert it. Now, if we should check on our live server, I think we should have our image already on our live server. It's a bit slow because of the network. Oof. I'm coming. Right now, we have our logo here. Right now, up next is going to be our navigations. We've not started styling, we're just writing the code. We've not started styling. Now, up next is going to be our navigation. Right now, for the navigation, we're going to be using, it's still inside this header top, right? But outside this logo div. Now I'm going to be giving, let's just use a nav. Since we are working with semantic HTML, let's use the nav. This nav is for navigations, and you can use lists to create your nav. You can use just anchor tags. Now I love using anchor tags. Let's make it 5 and then create 5 anchor tags. Let's split it so that don't get confused. Right, we've created our 5 anchor tags. Now from here, what we've got is we have the home, about, features, purchase, and contact us. Let's write that. Home, about, features, purchase, and what? Contacts us. Alright. Good. Now we've written that. We should check on our web page, on our live server. We've gotten this already. Are we together? We've gotten this already. Now we've gotten the logo image and this, right? Now the next thing for us to do in that header section is this right up here. And I told you this section is one, these two they are in one section, this other one is in another section on its own, but in that same header, right? Now the first section we have here is this header top, so we can just create another one outside that header top, and then we'll just call it the hero. Let's give it a class name of let's say hero. Yeah, and then inside our hero, what we've just got is let me see, this right up, right? Let's say our h1 to be coffee makes mood, and then the second line is our p tag, right? And then we'll write, I'm using, now look at this, look at this image here. Indulge in every sip, experience in richness of coffee. Now it is in quotation. There's a way you can write quotation in HTML using the q tag. The q, this will give you a quotation. Then write what you want to write inside. What's the write up there? Indulge in every sip. All right, indulge in every sip. Come on. Experience the richness of coffee. Experience the richness of what? Coffee. All right. Now I've gotten that. Go to your web page. You can see that this is already in quotation, just the way we want it. All right. That's how to put your words in quotation in HTML using the Q tag for quotes. All right. Now we've gotten the header top. What we need to do first now is to style it. We are going to be styling the header section before we continue to the next sections we have available. All right. All right. So first things first, I always tell you to, what is it called? Remove every padding. Like look at the web page, look at what we got. There are spaces around here. If you can see, there are spaces around here. Always remove those spaces and be left with spaces that you will be adding yourself. You just be left with spaces that you'll be adding yourself. Set it to 0, and the margin as well. Always remove all the margin and set it to what? Set your margins to 0 ps as well. Now looking at our web page, there should be no, comment. Right, look at, there's no more space here. All the spaces, all the white spaces, unnecessary spaces are gone. Now what we need to do next is to pick our header section. Inside the header we have two divs, right? We have two sections, the hero and the header top. Now after picking our header, we are going to style our header. First off, set your display to set our display to flex. Set our display to flex, and let's see how it will align now. Look at your web page. Do you know why it is like this? Because you have just two divs. inside two parent div inside that header. This is one, which is the header top. This is the other one, which is your hero section. So now we don't want it aligned like this. From our templates that we are using, they are aligned what in columns, not horizontally. So I told you to change that. We can now use what we call the flex direction. The flex direction is what we're going to use to change it and set it to what to column. Now after setting it to column, we should have something like this here. All right, good. Now let's do with our background color and the background image. We're going to be adding background color and background image. You know, in what's it called? In CSS, when you are taught how to add background image, in CSS, when you are taught to add background image, you just do it like this. You be like background image, you set it to background um, image, and then use your URL, and then you set your background image. Just what is the background image? Okay, BG. All right. Now once you check, we have the background image splitted, right? We have the background image splitted, and then if we want to use just color, we use background. Let me delete it first. I'm coming. I'm just trying to explain something. Let me put red here. Let's change it to just background color. Now once you want to use background color, you set it like this, and now you have your background color. But then what you have here, we have a background color and an image. All right, we have a background color and an image. So there's a way we are going to do it. There's a way we do that, adding background image and color together in CSS. All right, how to combine the both. Now we're just going to use a term called what's it called, background, just background. Now it's a shorthand for both background image, background color, and what have you. So the first thing we're going to do is pull your color. Then after adding your color, you add your, I'm coming, sorry, it's just going to be background, not background color. You put your color first, then you put your URL, right? After your URL, you're putting the, what's it called, the image you want to use alongside the color. Now let me show you something. You see, we have our background color and our image, but from here, this is not the background color we are using, right? This is not the background color we are going to use. The background color we are going to use in our code is let's see, for the background color, I think I've drafted that out already, right? The background color we are going to be using is ash 2f 1f 1 4, right? This is the background color we're going to be using. Now let's check that out. Right, you see we've got our background color now. Now we have a lot of repeats here and all of that. You can just change that. There's a shorthand for it, but let me just use the normal one. I can just use background we have background position where you want it to be fixed. We have background repeat. This, if you don't want it to be repeated, background repeat, you can just set it to no repeat. All right, now once you set it to no repeat, the background would not repeat. Do you see it? The background is no longer repeating. All right, the background is no longer repeating, but it's just centered. Now you can set the background position. Okay, you can just set the background position and say, okay, um our background size. Okay, let's set the background size first. You can set it to, well, you can set it to cover, you can set it to contain, and what have you. Now once you set it to cover, this is what you have, right? The image is stretched. You can set it to contain. If you want the image to show fully, you can set it to what, to contain, right? See, the image is showing fully, but it's not at this edge. So that's where position comes in. The background position is to set it where you want it to be, where you want that image to be. Let's say you want it at the center, set it to center. Now I'm just going to be explaining each step so that you understand where this works. Now I set it to center. Do you see it? But we want it at this edge. What you need to do is put it to that edge. That is want it by the right. Okay, yeah, is that right? Okay, want it by the right. Do you see it now? Our background image is now by the right. Okay, now that being said, let's now style this section. Let's now style this section. We can see from our code here that all these write-ups are white. Most of the write-ups we have here are actually white, except a few, right? Except a few of them. So we can set the colors later, but then let's style it one after the other. Up next, what we need to style is the header top. Now for this header top, we're going to be selecting the class dot what header top. Now the header top, set the display to flex. Set the display to flex. Let's check it out. All right, now we've set our display to flex, but this image is too big. Let's reduce the image first. Where is the image located? The image is located inside our div that we gave the class name logo. So we're going to be selecting that in our CSS. Now we'll come to dot logo, and what are we picking inside the logo is the image. Now what do we want to do? We want to set the width. We want to reduce the width of the image. Let's say we're using 100 ps. Reduce the width, then we'll reduce the height as well. Let's set the height to like 100 ps too. Let's set the height to like 100 ps just to resize it. Do you see the size? It's very small, though we might still need to resize it later, but for now let's go with this. Okay, you can see that the image is kind of stretched, so we can just use what we call object fit in CSS, is to allow the image to maintain its original shape and size no matter the width and height you give it. And for that, use contain so that it will maintain its original position. Do you see now? It's no longer stretched, it's maintaining its original position. Now always when you are working with something, I like adding background so that you know where you are working with. Let's just put a background color to this header top. Let's say we are using like red, for example. We'll remove it later, but just for us to know what we are working with. Now we are working with this section. Can you see it? We are working with this section. First off, we set it to display of flex. Let's now give it a height. Let's give it a height. I would like to set the height to like let's use, okay, no, let's leave the height for now. Let's leave the height for now. Okay, we set the display to flex. Let's give it a gap so that there will be gap between each of those elements. Let's say 50 px. Let's see. All right, the gap is coming of 50 ps. I think the gap should be more than that. Let's give it 150 px. All right, I think this should do for now. All right, this should do for now. Now up next, from this our design, you can see that there's space around here. There's space around here, so we are going to be giving the container a padding left. Yes, we are going to be giving it a padding left. That is to say, there should be space from the left hand side. Padding left, let's say 100 px. Yeah, let's give it a random padding. Okay, now we have our spacing from this side. All right, good. Now up next is to align. Now look at this, it's at the center of this image, so we are going to be doing the alignment. We align items to center. We align our items to center. We justify as well. Justify content as well to what, to center. We did this in our flexbox and our grid. So align items to center and all of that. Now you can see that our items are centered, but we don't want this vertical centering. So let's remove that. Justify that brought it. You can just comment it. Justify that brought, yeah, we just want it like this. Now let's style this. Let's style all of this list. The anchor tags. So inside our nav, we are going to be picking our A tags, right? So just come down here and do nav, and then what are we picking inside the nav? Our A tag. Can just change the color of our A tag. Can change the color to white. Okay, let's check. Now our color is white, but we have underlinings under these colors, right? We have underlinings. So what we need to do is remove the underlining. You can change it using the text decoration. We'll remove every underlining, set it to none, so that all the underlinings will be gone. Now I want all of them in capital letters, so you can just change that using your text. Have what we call the text transform. This will change your text, put it to uppercase, and it will change all of them to capital letters. You see now, we have all of them in capital letters. Now we can give spacing between them by setting the nav itself, that this nav is harboring all of these links. So we can just set the nav itself to a display of flex. Just the nav now, set it to a display of flex, right? Then you will see that all of them will be joined together, no more space. You can now add the gap. You can now put your gap and then come in, put the gap, and let's say we are using like 20 px for the gap, right? Just 20 px should be enough. Okay, come in. All right, I think this should be enough for the spacing, right? Good. Now we have that. Up next is looking at this nav section has its own background, different from the original background we are using. It has its own background. We're going to be adding that background now to this nav section. Then we'll just do background color. Just do our background color. Coming. Okay. I'm going to be setting our background color on that. The background color we are using for our nav section is hash 6F4436. Right, that's our background color for the nav section. Let's come here and see. Right, we have our background color for the nav section. We can now remove this red background so that it won't confuse our work. Let's remove the red background. All right, let's come down here. Do you see now? So there's little spacing from here, there's little spacing around them. So we're going to be giving them that spacing. I can just say each of these each of these tags should have like a padding of, let's say, um let's give it a general padding of like 5 px round, right? So that there will be space around it. This thing now, there's space around it. Or we can just feel like, let me see from the image. Yeah, we can still increase it and say from the top and bottom it should have 5 px, from left and right it should have like 10 px, so that there will be enough spacing around them. Okay, now we can see that this first aspect has what, a white background That's a white background and another color of text, right? This is to show us that once you click on any of these, once you click on any of them, it should have this. It should have this because the home has it already. That's to tell us that once you click on this, this will have the white background and the other color of text, same as this and this. All right. So we're going to be doing what we call the hover effect on, that is our nav A. Then we'll do what? Hover. Once you hover on it, what should happen? Once you hover on it, you should have a background, color of white, right? Should have a background color of white, and the text color should be this color that we just used now. Should be cis. Yeah, is this. All right. So once you hover on it, can you see now? Once you hover on it, this is what you are having. All right. This is what you are having once you hover on any of them. Do you see that now? Okay. I think we are done with that section. All right. We have our image, we have our navigation section, and then up next. So okay, we are done with this section. Up next is going to be this other section, now this coffee, right? This coffee section, the word are centered, right? And we can see that it has spacing around it, a lot of space. That's to say this one has a definite width. Okay, now we'll go to that section. That's our hero section. Now we'll do dot hero and the first thing we need to do is to give it a height. Then we'll give it a height of like let's say 300 px. Give it a background color so that we know what we are working with. I always like using red. Let's give it a red background color so that we'll see the width we've added. Okay, now look at the width we've added to it. Do you see the width now? Forget about the background color, that the background image that this red background is covering. We'll still remove the red background. Okay, now we've gotten exactly what we want now, the height. Now it's just to center this, at the middle. Using flexbox, you can center it. Using grid, you can center it. But then let's just use flexbox here. We're using grid in, sorry, set our display first to what? To flex. Okay, all good. Now, do you see, once you set your display to flex, do you see this? That's got the two elements inside of that hero that's flexed them. So you have to change the direction. And then you change your flex direction, bring it to what? Column. All right, setting your flex direction to what? To column. You have it back. Now to bring them to the middle of the text, you have to align items to center. You justify content as well to center. Now this will center it in the middle. Do you see that now? If you want your work to be at the middle, right? But if you don't want it to be at the middle, for example, if you feel like, let's remove this red background first. We'll remove the red background. Let's see where it is. Okay, this is where we have it. You feel like, okay, you don't want it here, you want it around this space, you can just remove this justify content. All right, let's remove the justify content for, sorry, remove the align items. Now it will be vertically centered. You see, now what you need now is to push it to maybe around this area. That instead of using the align items, you can use padding. Instead of these align items, you can use what we call padding. As, sorry, let's do padding left. Always add the padding direction to wherever you want it. Now let's use padding left, and then we say, okay, from our padding left we want like 200 ps spacing. Do you see now? You have got your spacing 200 ps. The color of the text is white. You can just change the color to what? White. All right, now do you see that our color is white already? Now we're already having just what we want. We're having similar to just what we want. You can increase the text color and just say our hero dot hero, the h1, we want the font size to be, let's say we want the font size to be like 30 px. All right, let's check if it's very big. Oh, that's not big. Let's make it like 50 px. Okay, this, can make it bigger to whichever extent you want. All right, but let's just leave it at this. I think this should do. Let's just leave it at this for now. I'll be teaching you how to import fonts, because this is actually a font from Google. So I'll be teaching you how to import fonts later. All right, so for now, I think we're done with this first section. We're done with this first section, right? Okay, there are little curves around these edges when we hover on them, right? When we hover on this, there are little curves around this white background. So we're going to be adding that. Here is our hover. All right, we have it here. We add what we call border radius, and let's just make it like, let's say 5 px for now. Check if that will be okay. Okay, yeah, this is perfect. All right, I think this will do. Okay, so we've done what we want in this first series section. You can actually increase the height of this image. I think it's very small. You can increase the height of the image. I'm just trying to replicate it. You can do exact same on your own if you decide to. Let's just increase the height of the height and width of the image. Let's increase it a bit. Let's see. Yeah, I think it's okay like this. Yeah, it feels much better this way. Okay. All right. I think, yeah, this should do. But let's just add little padding to the top of this navigation. Let's make it 8 px instead. Yeah, I think this is okay. All right, up next we are going to our next section, which is this section. All right, we are going to this section next. Now what we are going to do in this section is very simple: an image by the left and a little write-up by the right. Okay, good. And then we have a button here. So what we are going to do is we are using semantic HTML. We've used our header. Now let's go to our, after header we have the main, and then with the footer. Now let's create our main. Inside our main, all of this section will be coming inside. Now we can now be using, yeah, this will be one section inside our main. This will also be another section. Then this will be our footer. All right, so we'll be having two sections inside the main. Now for the first section, we're going to be creating two, look at, two divs. One is carrying an image, another one is carrying what's it called, a write-up. So we're going to be creating two divs. Now do the first div, let's just say dot image as the name of the first div. Then we'll add our image in it. The image there is our coffee image. Let's check that out. Right, yeah, this image you have there, our coffee image. Right, then the second div is harboring our text. Let's do dot text, right? Text of the coffee. And what we have there first is, inside the text we have our h1, which is like the heading right up here. The discover coffee this. Let's just write discover coffee. Coffee what? Okay, now we've written that. Then up next we have little write up under it. I won't be writing that. I'll just be using very common, um I'll be using this common one. We're creating a p tag now. I'll just use Lauren inside of it. Then after writing our Lauren, we can just shorten it here, put a line break, look for somewhere else, come here, put a line break, come here, put a line break, so that it won't look jam packed. Come here, put a line break, and like that. Let's see how it will look. Okay, I think this should do. Okay. All right, now we have the write up, and up next, the last thing we have here is a read more button. Okay, read more button. So we are going to be creating, after our p tag, we are going to be creating a button, and then inside our button we are going to write read more. Okay, now the type of this button is to, like, we just set the type to just button. So once you click on it, it will take you somewhere, wherever. Okay, though the read more, we are not going to be linking it to anything because it's just a normal template we are following, not like a fully functional website yet. Okay, I think we've got all we needed. The button is here, this and this. Now for this first section we created, let's give it a class name and call the class coffee. Let's call the class coffee. Now let's come to our style. First off, I like working with background color, so do dots coffee. All right, in our dot coffee, I'm going to be giving it a background color of red first. Let's know where our coffee is covering. You see it now. Good. So this coffee has two sections. One has the image, the other has what? This write up. Now this place we are going to be implementing the grid method. So set our display. You can use flex as well, but set our display to what? To grid. And I told you in grid nothing happens until you define your grid template. You see, nothing has changed until what? Now define your grid template. Let's say grid template columns. How many columns do we want? From this image, how many columns do we want? Just two. You see now, just two columns. So what you do is write repeat, inside your repeat 2 comma 1 fr. What this 1 fr does is you should just create two columns. Each of them should have the same spacing. They should just share the space between themselves. That's what it means. Do you see now? They've shared the space between themselves. Now this image here is a bit smaller. Okay, so we can just add the width and height to the image. Now this image is under a div called the class name image. So we're going to pick the class image, and then inside the class, what are we picking is the image. You can just set the height of the image to like 200 px, the width of the image to like 200 ps, set object fit to contain so that it will maintain its original size. All right, so this is what we got here, right? This is exactly what we got. Now from this image you can see that it has a rounded borders, so we can just add the rounded border by adding border radius. Let's say 10 px. Let's say 10 px. Now let's check it out. Border radius, why is that not reflecting yet? A border radius, I don't know. The image is supposed to have a border radius. Okay, it's actually coughing, but not very well. Let's increase it. Maybe it's because of the image. Let's just give something big and see, so that we'll see the effect. Okay, you can see now it's actually because of the image. Okay, so let's reduce it. Let me give it 30 ps. Let me change this to contain. Coming. It's actually because of the image. I'll still change it back to cover. It's actually because of the image. That's why the curves is somehow. I actually screenshotted this image. I didn't download it. That's the reason behind it. Okay, so we shall have the image already. You can go with it like this. All right, now look at this. It's as if the image is centered in this first section. So to have that, you can just come here and say your image section. Now doing what? You can still set the display to grid, because you are using grid here. You can use flex, whichever one suits you. And then you want to place that image at the center, just place what we use, place content and set it to center. Now this will center the image. This will center the image at the middle of that content. I'm coming. Okay. Okay, we've not added the class name. We only wrote image dot image. Sorry, dot image. Now you can see that the image is now at the center. What's next is just this write up and this button. Now the button, let's do for the button first. The button is under text, right? The button is under text, so we can just do dot text and then we'll pick our what, our button. Then we'll now give it a background color of ash. This, yeah, let's use this. Let's give it a background color like that. I'll give it a color of, let's say, white. Let the color be white. Then we'll give it let me see. Okay, it has, don't think there's anything we'll have to do here much. Okay, let's give it spacing. It has padding, and let's give the padding. Top and bottom should be 5 px. Then left and right can just be 10 px. All right. Okay, I think this should be enough. Then the button from here, that we can see that the button is a bit at the bottom compared, like it has spacing. All right, so we can just give it like a margin top, so that from the top there will be space. Can give it a margin top, let's say 20 px, for example. You see now there's space. All right, there's space. Okay, good. Now you can see that there's space between this header top and this paragraph. Yeah, so we can just go and pick our dot text and pick our h1. Then we'll just do margin bottom, so that there will be space between it and the paragraph text. All right, see there's space now. I think this should do. All right, this should do. This should be okay, but it has its own background color, right? It has its own, generally has its own background color. So we're going to be changing this. Where's the background color we use? This red background color. We're going to be changing it to the original color we'll be using. This is ash. DBBCA1. Right. That's the original color. You see that now? We've gotten what we want. Now you can see these thick lines around this button. If you want to remove that, you can come to the button and set the border none, so that you don't have those thick lines around it. Now you see there's no longer thick lines around this. I think this should do. And if you feel like adding spacing around all of that, you can just put little padding here and just say, okay, padding, general padding, let's just give it like 10 ps from top, right, left and bottom. So I just have little spacing. You see, just have little spacing around it. Now up next, we're going to be creating another section, which is the review section. Okay,